Day 15, the discharge nurse is telling me the VA shuttle's waiting outside, and I'm sitting there in my hospital gown thinking about how I got here. Not the surgery part. That knee replacement was 30 years overdue from working the GM line. I'm talking about how my own kids, the 4 people I raised and sacrificed everything for, just vanished when I needed them most. My name's Roy Henderson. I'm 58. Been a widower for 4 years now since Carol passed. Retired early from General Motors after my knee finally gave out for good. Thought I had everything figured out, you know? 4 grown kids, decent pension, 3 rental properties my wife and I scraped together back in the day. Figured I'd earned a little help when the time came. Boy, was I wrong. It started 2 weeks ago when Dr. Martinez told me the knee was shot. Complete replacement, Mr. Henderson. You'll need family support for weeks. This isn't a minor procedure, so I called a family meeting. Sunday dinner, pot roast, the works, just like Carol used to make. Got all 4 kids around the table where they grew up. Steve, my oldest at 32, works as an engineer now. Lisa, 30, she's a nurse, been living in my guest room for 2 years after her divorce. Danny, 28, still finding himself if you know what I mean. And Kevin, 25, the baby, been in college for 7 years studying whatever strikes his fancy that semester. Dad, don't worry about a thing. Steve jumped right in, always trying to be the man of the house since his mom died. We'll work out a schedule. Take turns staying with you. Lisa nodded, squeezing my shoulder. I know recovery, Dad. I'll handle the first few days when you need the most help. I can do midweek, Danny added, though I wondered what job he'd be missing since he hadn't held one in over a year. Weekends are mine, Kevin chimed in from where he was visiting from college. We got you covered, Pop. You'll never be alone. I felt this weight lift off my chest. The surgery itself didn't scare me. 30 years of factory work teaches you about pain. But being helpless, being alone, that terrified me. Carol always said the worst thing about getting old wasn't the body breaking down. It was people treating you like you're already gone. But my kids had promised. Steve even wrote down a schedule on Carol's old notepad, tore off the sheet and stuck it on the refrigerator. See, Dad, all planned out. I went under that knife feeling good about things. Day 1 after surgery, I woke up groggy, knee on fire, but looking for Steve's face. Empty chair. The nurse, a young guy named Marcus, asked if I needed anything. My son should be here soon, I told him. He's got the first shift, hour after hour, nothing. Finally texted Steve around dinner time, son, this knee's killing me. Could use some company. 3 hours later, sorry, Dad, massive deadline at work. Crisis mode. Lisa said she'd swing by tonight. Lisa never showed. Day 2, I'm lying there watching the clock. Breakfast comes, lunch comes, shift change happens. Still nobody. Called Lisa directly. Straight to voicemail. Hi, this is Lisa. Leave a message. All chipper like she didn't have a care in the world. Left a message. Sweetheart, it's Dad. In some pain here, could really use a familiar face. Never got a call back. Day 3, I tried a different approach. Texted the family group chat. Hey everyone, feeling pretty rough. Would love a visitor today. Danny responded first. Hang in there, Dad. Got something important today, but thinking of you. An hour later, I saw his Facebook post from Murphy's Tavern downtown. Buying rounds for his buddies. Something important, all right. Day 4, the reality started sinking in. They weren't coming. This wasn't about scheduling conflicts or busy lives. They just didn't want to deal with their old man hooked up to machines, needing help to sit up, to reach his water cup. That's when I met Maggie, the head nurse on the day shift. Tough woman in her 40s, been working this floor for 15 years. Found me one morning struggling to reach my breakfast tray, knee screaming every time I moved. Hold on there, Mr. Henderson, she said, adjusting my bed without me even asking. Let's get you sorted. She didn't make a big deal about it, just fixed my position, made sure everything was within reach, refilled my water cup. Then she pulled up the visitor's chair and sat down. How you holding up? She asked. Not the medical question, but the real one. Been better, I admitted. Family been by yet? That question cut deeper than the surgeon's blade. I cleared my throat, tried to keep the shame out of my voice. They're busy. Work and all. Maggie just nodded, but I caught that look in her eyes. The look nurses get when they've seen this story before. Too many times. Well, she said, standing up. You ring that call button if you need anything at all. I mean anything, Mr. Henderson. I'm here all week, and she was... Every day, Maggie checked on me beyond her medical duties. Brought me real coffee when I couldn't stomach the hospital stuff. Talked to me about her kids. Her husband Eddie, who worked construction, treated me like a person, not just a patient number. Meanwhile, from my own kids, radio silence broken only by the occasional text. "Hang in there, Dad. Get better soon. Thinking of you." Empty words that felt like form letters. Day 7 came and went like all the others. I texted Kevin, my youngest son. "Haven't seen anyone all week. Everything okay?" His response came back hours later. "Dad, money's super tight right now. Can't afford the gas for the trip, but sending positive thoughts your way." Positive thoughts. That's what I got instead of my baby boy's face. That same afternoon, I'm scrolling through Facebook on my phone, something I rarely do when Kevin's latest post pops up. There he is at some campus party, red Solo cup in hand, huge grin, caption reading "Epic night with the crew." Poses 2 hours after he told me he couldn't afford gas money. I stared at that photo for a long time. My youngest, the one I'd been supporting through 7 years of college, the one who called me when he needed anything, couldn't scrape together $20 for gas to see his father in the hospital. But he could afford whatever was in that red cup. Day 8, a different nurse was on shift, older woman named Betty. She'd been checking my vitals when she noticed I hadn't touched my lunch. "Not hungry, Mr. Henderson. Lost my appetite, I guess." She sat down in the visitor's chair. Same spot where my family should have been sitting. "Want to talk about it?" I found myself telling her about the kids, the promises, the silence. Betty listened without judgment, just nodded along like she understood. "How many children do you have?" she asked when I finished. "4. And how many have visited?" The answer hung in the air like a bad smell. "None." Betty patted my arm. "Sometimes the family we choose treats us better than the family we're born with." Day 10. Maggie brought me a card from her 8-year-old daughter. Crayon drawing of a man in a hospital bed with a big smile. Words written in careful second-grade handwriting. "Get well soon, Mr. Henderson." A stranger's child showing more care than my own kids. Day 12. I tried calling Steve directly. The phone rang and rang, then went to voicemail. "You've reached Steve Henderson. Leave a detailed message and I'll get back to you." I didn't leave a message. What was the point? That night, lying in the dark, listening to the machine's beep, something broke inside me. Not my body, that was healing fine. Something deeper. The part of me that believed family meant something. That raising kids, sacrificing for them, putting them through school, always being there when they called, that all of it mattered. Day 15, Dr. Martinez walked in with his clipboard and that smile doctors get when they're about to deliver good news. "Mr. Henderson, your knee is healing beautifully. You're cleared to go home today." My chest tightened. "Today? That's right. Have you arranged transportation? Family picking you up?" "They're coming," I lied, the words tasting like ash. I tried one last time. Called each of them. Steve, voicemail. Lisa, busy signal. Danny, phone disconnected, probably for non-payment. Kevin rang forever with nobody picking up, sir. Dr. Martinez was back, looking concerned. "Transportation arranged?" "I'll take the VA shuttle," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The VA shuttle driver was a young guy, probably in his late 20s, buzz-cut and friendly demeanor. Helped me load my stuff into the van. Made small talk about the weather. When we pulled up to my house, he insisted on helping me to the door. "You got someone inside to help you, sir?" he asked, genuinely concerned. "Got 4 kids," I said automatically. The lie was becoming easier each time I told it. I unlocked my front door to complete silence. The house felt different somehow, colder. Flipped on the lights and saw all our family pictures on the wall. Graduations, Christmas mornings, Carol holding babies. Everyone smiling in those photos, everyone young and full of promises they'd never keep. Made my way to the kitchen, knee aching with each step. Opened the fridge, expecting maybe someone had thought to stock it for my return. One warm beer that had been there since before surgery, expired milk, empty pizza box someone had left behind. The freezer held nothing but ice cubes and an old package of frozen peas. They hadn't just abandoned me at the hospital. They hadn't even considered what I'd eat when I got home. I sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where we'd planned my care, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, pure rage. Not the quick anger that flares up and fades, but the deep, cold fury that settles in your bones and changes how you see the world. For 30 years, I'd worked every overtime shift GM offered, missed little league games, school plays, parent conferences because I was trying to build something for this family. Paid for weddings, college tuition, down payments on cars. Been the bank of Dad whenever they needed money, and somehow I'd become the ATM of Dad, reliable, silent, and apparently disposable. I pulled out Carol's old household ledger from the kitchen drawer. She'd kept track of everything in her neat handwriting, every loan, every temporary arrangement, every month of free rent. After she died, I'd kept up the practice, though my writing wasn't nearly as careful as hers, flipped through the pages adding up the damage. Steve owed $8,000 for that truck he bought 6 months ago. Just till my next bonus comes through, Dad. The bonus had come and gone twice over, but my money sure hadn't. Lisa had been living in my guest room for exactly 2 years and 3 months. We'd agreed on $600 a month when she moved in temporarily after her divorce. Total, $16,800 in back rent she'd somehow never managed to pay. Danny had been getting $700 a month in what we called job search support for 18 months now. That's $12,600 worth of job searching, most of it happening at Murphy's Tavern from what I could tell. Kevin was trickier to calculate. I'd been paying his tuition directly to the school for 7 years straight, at $18,000 per year. That was $126,000 invested in a kid who couldn't afford gas money to visit his father in the hospital. Total damage, $163,420, and my phone buzzed. Lisa calling Dad. "Oh my God, how was discharge? Why didn't you call? I would have picked you up." Her voice was all sweetness and concern, like she'd been waiting by the phone this whole time instead of ignoring my calls for 2 weeks. "Took the shuttle," I said, keeping my voice level. "The shuttle, Dad? That's terrible. Are you eating okay? Do you need groceries? I can run to the store right now." "Don't need groceries, Lisa. But I do need something else. Anything, Dad. What do you need?" 2 years and 3 months of back rent at $600 a month like we agreed. That comes to $16,800 dead silence on the other end. I could practically hear her brain scrambling for an excuse. "Dad, what's wrong? You're scaring me. Is this about the hospital? We wanted to visit, but you were too busy posting vacation photos while I was lying there alone. You saw my Instagram. I may have a bad knee, Lisa, but my eyes work fine. You and your girlfriends at that wine tasting last weekend looked like you were having a real tough time." Another silence. She'd been caught, and she knew it. "Dad, we can talk about the rent thing, but your family. You don't charge family. Family shows up when they promise to. Family doesn't abandon their father in a hospital bed for 15 days. We didn't abandon you, then what would you call it? Because I got a different word for it, and it's not pretty." I could hear her starting to cry, the old manipulation tactic that used to work when she was 16. "Dad, please, I'm struggling right now. The divorce, being a single mom, it's hard. You know what else is hard, Lisa? Knee replacement surgery, lying in a hospital bed, wondering if your own children care whether you live or die. Of course we care. Caring means showing up. Sunday dinner, 6 p.m. Tell your brothers, we're settling some accounts." I hung up before she could argue further. Next call went to George Tucker, my old union rep turned lawyer. We'd worked side by side on the GM line for 15 years before he went to night school and made something of himself. If there was one person I trusted in this world besides Carol, it was George. "George, it's Roy. Need you to come by tonight if you can. Got some family business to handle." What kind of trouble we talking about here? The kind where your kids treat you like an ATM instead of their father. Jesus, Roy? They really left you hanging at the hospital? 15 days, George. 15 days of broken promises and bullshit excuses. I'll be right over, and Roy, bring out Carol's ledger. Something tells me we're gonna need documentation. George arrived an hour later with his briefcase and the no-nonsense expression he used to wear during contract negotiations. Still had that union mentality. Everything in writing, everything fair. No one gets screwed over without a fight. They really abandon you for 2 weeks? He asked, settling into Carol's old recliner. Not one of them showed up, not once. And I called, I texted, I practically begged. George shook his head slowly. Carol would have tanned their hides. Carol's not here to fight for me anymore. Guess I gotta learn to fight for myself. I showed him the ledger, walked him through the numbers. His eyebrows climbed higher with each page. $163,400, Roy. That's not family helping family. That's systematic financial abuse. Tell me something I don't know. Well, here's something you might not know. He pulled out a manila folder thick with documents. Remember how you always complained about those 3 rental houses being in a dead neighborhood? Yeah, what about them? You might want to sit down for this. I was already sitting, but something in his tone made me grip the arms of my chair. GM's expanding their electric vehicle production. They're buying up 6 square blocks around the old plant, including your street. The city sent out preliminary offers last week. He slid a letter across my kitchen table. Official letterhead, fancy language, but the number at the bottom hit me like a sledgehammer. $4.2 million. For those 3 little houses. That's the opening bid, Roy. My contact at City Hall says GM's desperate to lock down the land. Final offers could hit $6 million, maybe more. I read the letter 3 more times, but the number didn't change. $6 million. While my kids were treating me like a charity case they couldn't be bothered to visit, I was sitting on enough money to buy their houses and use what was left for kindling. There's more, George said, pulling out another document. You remember your neighbor, Mrs. Patterson? She sold to GM last month for $1.8 million. 1 house, Roy. You've got 3 plus that corner lot where Carol's garden used to be. The irony was so thick I could taste it. For months, Lisa had been giving me grief about living in the old neighborhood, suggesting I move somewhere nicer. Danny had made jokes about me being a slumlord. Steve constantly offered to help me get rid of those money pits. Money pits, if they only knew. What do you want to do about Sunday dinner? George asked. I want to teach them the difference between taking and earning. And if they don't like the lesson, I looked around at the pictures on my walls, the life Carol and I had built, the sacrifices we'd made for kids who couldn't be bothered to spend one afternoon in a hospital room. Then they'll learn what it feels like to be cut off. George spent another hour helping me organize documents, making copies, explaining my legal options. By the time he left, I had a plan. Not revenge. That's too messy, too emotional. This was business, cold, calculated, and completely legal business. Saturday came and went quietly. I spent the day going through old photos, remembering better times when the kids were young and actually seemed to enjoy my company, before I became just a wallet to them. Sunday morning, I didn't cook. Ordered pizza from Tony's, bought paper plates and plastic cups. If they wanted family dinner, they were getting the no-frills version. I wasn't Carol, wasn't going to pretend everything was fine by making their favorite meal. By 5:30, I was ready. Documents organized on the table, calculator handy, and my mind clear for the first time in weeks. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 p.m. Steve walked in first, still in his work clothes, trying to look important. Lisa followed with my grandson Paul, her 8-year-old boy who at least had the decency to run over and hug my leg. Danny shuffled in, looking like he'd been drinking since breakfast, and Kevin brought up the rear in clothes I'd probably paid for. Dad, you look good, Steve started, his voice all business. Knee healing up, okay. You should have called us for a ride home. Sit down, all of you. The room went quiet. They recognized that tone from when they were kids and knew they were in trouble. I set Carol's ledger on the dining table right next to the pizza boxes. The contrast wasn't lost on anyone. Fancy family records next to cheap dinner. This wasn't the warm family gathering they expected. Steve, according to these records, you owe me $8,000 for that truck. 6 months overdue. His face flushed. Dad? What's this about? I told you, the bonus, Lisa, 2 years and 3 months of back rent, $16,800 total. She started the waterworks immediately. Dad, your family. Family doesn't, Danny. 18 months of job search support. $12,600. Lot of searching happening at Murphy's Tavern. Danny stood up angry. This is bullshit, Dad. You're treating us like strangers. Sit down. The command in my voice dropped him back into his chair like he was 12 again. Kevin, 7 years of tuition. $6,000 invested in a kid who couldn't afford gas money to visit his father in the hospital. Dad, we love you, Kevin started, but I held up my hand. No, you love what I provide. There's a difference between a father and a funding source. I opened George's folder. You want to know what your broke old man is really worth? I slid the GM letter across the table. 4 faces went white as they read. $6 million, Steve whispered. That's right. Those worthless houses in the bad neighborhood are about to make me richer than all of you combined. Lisa lunged forward like she was grabbing a life preserver. Dad, this is amazing. We can pay off everyone's debts, maybe take a family vacation. We're not doing anything. I'm rich. You 4 are broke and in debt to me. The explosion was immediate. Steve demanding his rightful inheritance as the eldest son. Lisa sobbing about being family. Danny calling me a selfish old bastard. Kevin calculating how much his share would be. I let them vent for a full 5 minutes, then stood up. The room fell silent. Here's what's going to happen. Steve, you've got 30 days to pay the $8,000 plus interest, or I repossess the truck and report the fraud to your employer. Yeah, I know you never fixed my roof. Dad, you can't, Lisa. 2 weeks to find your own place. Paul can visit anytime he wants, but you're done freeloading. This is crazy. Danny, your allowance just became your incentive to get a real job. No more beer money from Dad. You're out of your mind, Kevin. Congratulations. You're now responsible for your own education like every other adult on the planet. Steve tried one last card. Dad, we've been talking. You can't live alone anymore. There's this place, Sunset Manor. You want to put me in a nursing home so you can control my money. It's what's best for me. Like abandoning me for 15 days was best for me. I looked around at their faces, greed, anger, desperation, but not 1 ounce of genuine remorse. You 4 stopped seeing a father years ago. You see a bank account with a pulse. Well, this account just got closed. Dad, please, get out. All of you, except Paul. I knelt down to my grandson's level. You okay, buddy? He nodded, confused but not scared. Grandpa, why is everyone yelling? Sometimes grown-ups forget how to be grateful, Paul. Your mum just needs to remember how to take care of herself. After they left, Lisa screaming threats, Steve promising legal action, Danny cursing. Kevin crying. I sat down with Paul and shared a slice of pizza. Are you sad, Grandpa? No, buddy. I'm free. 3 weeks later, Steve paid his debt rather than face fraud charges. Lisa found an apartment and a second job. Danny got hired at UPS after I made it clear the gravy train had derailed permanently. Kevin transferred to community college and discovered he had a talent for automotive repair. I bought a downtown condo with a river view and turned the old house into the Carol Henderson Center for seniors, aging out of the hospital with nowhere to go. Maggie agreed to run it with Eddie handling the physical therapy program. The property sale netted $5 after taxes. I kept $1.8 million for myself and put the rest into scholarships for kids whose parents work their asses off but can't afford college tuition. 6 months later, Lisa brought Paul over for his weekly visit. Not asking for money, just visiting. Dad, I owe you more than an apology, she said. I owe you respect. Taking care of myself, it's hard, but it feels good. I hugged my daughter and grandson. That's all I ever wanted, for you to stand on your own. Steve visits monthly now. We talk cars, sports, life, real conversations. Not him angling for money. Danny sends photos from his delivery routes, proud of earning his own way. Kevin called last week excited about his first semester grades. They learned what I should have taught them from the beginning. Respect isn't automatic, it's earned. And me, I learned that family isn't just about blood. Maggie and Eddie come for dinner every Sunday. Paul spends weekends helping me build birdhouses in my workshop. We're family now, chosen family, built on respect instead of obligation. Every morning I wake up in a place I chose, doing work that matters, surrounded by people who value me for who I am, not what I can provide. Being abandoned in that hospital wasn't the worst thing that happened to me. It was the wake-up call I needed. Have you ever had to learn the hard way that love without respect is just another word for being used? Maybe you're that parent who gives and gives until there's nothing left, wondering why your sacrifices don't seem to matter. Or maybe you're watching your own parents get taken advantage of by siblings who only call when they need something. The truth is, we teach people how to treat us. For 30 years, I taught my kids I was inexhaustible. When I finally said no, everything changed. Setting boundaries isn't mean, it's necessary. Real love sometimes requires tough choices. What boundaries do you need to set in your own life?